Well, I'm going to go ahead
You
and
just have
ask
to put
that
a 2
question
foot by 3
again.
foot piece of plywood up against the building.
What is the most bizarre, nonsensical, weirdest thing that has ever happened in your career?
Oh, in court?
Whether it be in court, in person, scenario that involved court later.
In general, he's saying.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, the top number one strangest, you'll never be able to forget that or figure it out. Even if you were Houdini, you'll never figure that trick out, whatever happened.
well, like I said, the best thing I could think of was in court. That was Farmer Charlie chasing the prosecutor around the courtroom, and me and then the man that I was helping, I punched him in the face. I backhanded him. He went flying off his chair, and I picked up his brother and body slammed him in court. And that was in England.
Well, how did that arrive?
Sport.
How did you ever get to that point? What happened?
Well, what happened was Farmer Charlie was asked by the prosecutor, the people I was helping, forged his affidavit. He wrote half a page of affidavit, and then another quarter of the page was written by the defendants. And the prosecutor said to Farmer Charlie, "Do you know who wrote? Obviously you didn't write this. Who wrote this?" And Farmer Charlie says, "I don't know. I didn't see anybody who wrote this." He says, "I think you know who wrote this, and you're just trying to protect them." He said, "Unless I actually saw the man write it," Farmer Charlie said, "I can't tell you who wrote this." He said, "I'm not going to bear false witness." He says, "Well, I think you know who wrote it." And Farmer Charlie said, "As far as I know, you wrote it to try to frame the defendant. How do I know who wrote it?" He said, "I'm not going to give you my opinion." And he said, "Well, I think you're lying. I think you know exactly who wrote it." And Farmer Charlie said, "Nobody calls Farmer Charlie a liar." Even the judge, when the judge called him to the witness stand, the judge said, "Farmer Charlie, take the stand." He didn't call him like Charles Smith or Charles Jones. Everybody in that community knew was Farmer Charlie. So the judge said, "Farmer Charlie, take the stand." So when Farmer Charlie took the stand, he said, the prosecutor said, "I believe you're lying." He says, "Nobody calls Farmer Charlie a liar." He says, "Because my word is as good as the day is long." And the prosecutor said, "Well, I believe you're lying." And Charlie said, he said, "Sonny boy, you got to take that back, or I'm going to give you a throttling." And I said, "Throttling don't sound good." I found out later it means I'm going to choke you. And I said, "Oh, that don't sound good, but this is going to get interesting." And he says, "Look, sir, I'm just doing my job." And Farmer Charlie got off the witness stand and rolled up his sleeves. And this is a 70-year-old man who's got a catheter tube and a colostrophe bag.
Oh my God!
Nobody else realizes in a courtroom, but I do. I realize how just ill Farmer Charlie was with pancreatic cancer, and he still wasn't going to put up with this. So Farmer Charlie came after the prosecutor, and he actually chased the prosecutor around the prosecutor table 3 times before the prosecutor said, "Okay, I apologize. You're not a liar. I withdraw the question." So then Farmer Charlie got back on the witness stand, and he said, the judge asked the prosecutor, "Do you have any more questions for this witness?" And he says, "No, I'm good." So then Farmer Charlie came off the witness stand. He sat right next to me, which was great. And man, I felt the old man's wrist. I said, "That was the most impressive thing I ever seen in court." Because what Farmer Charlie did is that he called the man out. And what it is like a trial by combat. And the judge actually permitted it in England. He actually called the prosecutor out. He says, if you don't take that back, I'm going to seek satisfaction, and I'm going to give you a throttling. So you got to take that
It's
back.
quite amazing that these things have survived. These are very basic fundamentals of the rules as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and he did it in England, which was amazing, because then when I told my people, I was like, "Look, if you acknowledge that the other side exists, if the crown exists, if you bring them to life, you're going to bring them to life by answering to them, by looking at them, by reacting to what they're saying, you are going to lose this case. Right now, we don't acknowledge that the crown even exists. We don't even acknowledge, because there's no man over there. There's no man. So if you all of a sudden start talking or answering or looking towards them, they're going, and then you supposedly understand what they're saying. They're speaking some legalese nonsense, and you look over there, and they'll realize that you understand what they're saying. You speak their language, and then you're coming into their world." I said, whatever we do, we don't look at them, we don't talk to them, we don't acknowledge anything that they're saying. We totally just look the other way, like they're ghosts, like they're not even there. Like they exist in the 2nd dimension, we exist in the 3rd dimension. We're 3rd dimensional, they exist only on paper. But we're not going to bring them to life. We're not going to show that.
It's recognizing a ghost in the courtroom because it's an entity, not a person that's actually charging you with this.
Well, no, it's not even a ghost, because a ghost can be three-dimensional. They only exist on paper. The crown, there's no man that's come before the court yet. Right now, we just have paperwork that was handed to us. And where's the man that's going to verify that any of this is true? Verify means viva voce, means by the word of man, by the word of mouth.
That is a wonderful point. That's something that we use.
Is anybody going to verify anything that's before this court at this time is true?
That's a wonderful point
true.
because we use that exact phrase for our news, certified and verified only. Verified means that there's an attestment to that being true. Certified means that it was merely put on paper and signed.
Yeah, well, somebody could have signed it or not signed it. It just certified that piece of, like a notary, just says that this piece of paper, not what's on it, but that piece of paper existed on planet Earth on a certain day at a certain time. That's it.